Ukrainian forces appear to have repelled another intensified Russian offensive towards Avdiivka over the past few days and inflicted further heavy losses on Russian soldier personnel and equipment in the area. Ukrainian and Russian sources indicated that Russian forces conducted another offensive attack on Avdiivka between October 19th and 20th. And geolocated material released on October 21st confirms that Russian forces did indeed make marginal gains northwest of Avdiivka in the dump area. Russian milbloggers claimed that Russian forces were gradually advancing north from Avdiivka near the dump towards Berdichev, 5 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka. A Ukrainian military observer noted that Russian forces were attacking towards Stepovka, 3 kilometers northwest of Avdiivka, towards Novokalinov, 7 kilometers north of Avdiivka, and towards the garbage heap from the Krasnohorivka Vesele area. Avdiivka on October 21st, and repeated earlier Ukrainian reports that Russian forces had lost 50 tanks, 100 armored vehicles, and 900 personnel during attacks on Avdiivka on October 19th. However, Ukrainian military officials noted that Russian forces had slightly reduced the pace of offensive operations near. The head of the intelligence center of the Estonian Defense Forces, Ants Kiviselg, in particular identified the attack on Avdiivka as a potential avenue for a new Russian offensive, in addition to offensive operations along the border of Kharkiv and Luhansk Oblasts. The fact that Russian forces continue to re-engage waves of personnel and equipment for offensive operations in the Avdiivka area suggests that the Russian command will continue to prioritize this axis despite the high casualties and overall low quality of Russian offensive forces. A Ukrainian military official noted that Russia's regular infantry and tactics are consistently bad, and that Russian forces instead rely on unmanned aerial systems such as Lancet drones, artillery, and aviation. Russian forces appear to continue to employ ineffective and costly tactics in their offensive efforts near Avdiivka, leading to heavy losses in personnel and vehicles, and the fact that they have done so continuously in several waves of attacks over the past week suggests that the Russian military command gives priority to this axis, despite continuous and growing losses. Russian forces may be changing their shields against missiles, guided bombs, and drones used in attacks on Ukrainian territory, perhaps trying to find weak spots in Ukrainian air defenses against upcoming winter attacks. Ukraine's Southern Operational Command reported that Russian forces fired unknown air-to-ground missiles in the Mykolaiv, Herson, and Odessa oblasts, Ka-59 missiles in Kryvyi Rih, the Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, and Herson oblasts, as well as Iskander-K cruise missiles and drones, Shahed in Kryvyi Rih on the night of October 21st. According to the Southern Operational Command, 3 of the unknown missiles exploded in the air. The Ka-59 missile hit a residential area in Kryvyi Rih, while the Iskanders and Shaheds hit industrial facilities in Kryvyi Rih. Humenyuk, spokeswoman for Ukraine's Southern Operational Command, noted that Russian forces have not previously used such a combination of weapons in a similar series of attacks, and it suggests that Russian actions are moving upwards into the airspace. Statement by Humenyuk refers to an earlier warning by Colonel Yuri Ihnat, spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force, on October 8th, which indicated increased activity of Russian drones in the campaign ahead of the coming winter. On October 21st, a tragic situation occurred in Kharkov where a Russian rocket hit a post office, killing 6 people and injuring at least 14 others. This information was confirmed by the governor of the Kharkiv region, Oleh Syniehubov, who also noted that many of the injured were in a serious condition. He expressed his outrage at this act of terrorism directed against the civilian population in the Kharkiv region. In the evening of the same day, Russian forces launched an attack on Kharkov using S-300 missiles, which caused panic and confusion among the city's inhabitants. The mayor of Kharkov, Ihor Terekov, confirmed this attack and reported that explosions could be heard in the city and that the city itself had become the target of enemy missiles. Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, is located just 30 kilometers south of the border with Russia. Both the city and the surrounding area regularly fall victim to Russian attacks, which poses a real threat to civilian residents and causes them suffering. This situation highlights the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine and the urgent need to ensure security and protection of the civilian population. Russian forces are trying to hamper Ukrainian efforts to resupply and reinforce newly acquired positions on the eastern, left bank of the Herson Oblast. According to a BBC Russia service report on October 21st, Ukrainian personnel involved in ground operations on the eastern bank announced that they were seeking full control of Krynki, 30 kilometers northeast of the city of Herson and 2 kilometers from the Dnieper River. Russian milbloggers claim that Ukrainian forces are maintaining positions in Krynki, but there are discrepancies as to the extent of these positions. A prominent Russian milblogger claims that Ukrainian forces have advanced as far as almost 2 kilometers south of Krynki. Another milblogger claims that Ukrainian forces control all of Krynki, although another milblogger denies this claim and claims that Russian forces pushed a Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance group from a position on the southern outskirts of the settlement. Russian milbloggers also claim that Russian forces are shelling Ukrainian positions in the vicinity of the Antonivsky Road Bridge north of Oleshko, 7 kilometers south of the city of Herson and 4 kilometers from the Dnieper River, and the Antonivsky Railway Bridge north of Poima, 10 kilometers southeast of the city of Herson and 4 kilometers from the Dnieper. According to one milblogger, there was fighting in the vicinity of Krynki and Pishchenivka, 12 kilometers southeast of the city of Herson and 3 kilometers from the Dnieper River. Although most Russian sources claim that Russian forces mainly use aviation and artillery units to try to displace the forces Ukrainian from positions on the eastern bank. Ukrainian forces have maintained a presence on the eastern bank since larger than usual ground operations began on the night of October 17th, 18, suggesting that Ukrainian forces were able to adequately resupply and reinforce the groups conducting these operations despite increased Russian air activity along the Dnieper River. On October 21st of this year, Russian forces continued to conduct an offensive in the area stretching from Kupiansk through Svatove to Kreminna, and also recorded advances in the Kupiansk area. Geolocation data from that day indicates that Russian forces were moving southwest of Lyman-Pershi, which is 11 kilometers northeast of Kupiansk, towards Kalinau, which is 8 kilometers northeast of Kupiansk. Ivanivka, located 21 kilometers southeast of Kupiansk. The General Staff of Ukraine reports that Ukrainian forces successfully repelled over 24 attacks by Russian forces in various areas, such as Sinkovka, located 9 kilometers northeast of Kupiansk, Ivanivka, Nadia, Bilohorivka, Serebryanska forests, and Spirna, which are 12 kilometers away respectively, 15, 12, 11, and 24 kilometers south of Kreminna. Additional geolocation information from October 17th and 20 suggests that Russian forces had also recently moved north from. The General Staff of Ukraine also reports that Ukrainian forces stopped the Russian attack near Nevsky, which is 20 kilometers northwest of Kreminaya. It should be emphasized that since October 21st, Russian forces continue to show interest in the Ukrainian crossings on the Oskil River near Kupiansk. A Russian blogger reports that Russian forces have blocked 2 bridges over the Oskil River, hindering the transfer of Ukrainian personnel and equipment to the eastern bank of the river. It is worth adding that from mid to late September this year, Russian aviation systematically attacked bridges on the Oskil River near Kupiansk. It appears that the Russian command intends to prevent Ukrainian forces from making deliveries across the river in order to support local Russian offensive operations in the area. Russian sources indicate that on October 21st, Ukrainian forces launched unsuccessful counterattacks on the Kupiansk-Swatowo-Kreminna line, Sinkovka and Sereyivka areas, while elements of the central group of Russian forces fought off 10 Ukrainian attacks towards Lyman. A Ukrainian military observer also reported on October 21st that Ukrainian forces had recently advanced approximately 2 kilometers toward Orlinka, 22 kilometers east of Kupiansk. However, the Institute of War Studies, ISW, has no visual confirmation of this report of a Ukrainian attack. The Russian Ministry of Defense, MON, reports that elements of the Russian Western Group of Forces successfully repelled 5 Ukrainian attacks in the